Hey guys, my name is Hap, and this is the M4A3E2 Sherman Jumbo, or M4E2 in short, because who's going to call this thing by its full name anyway? Have you ever had the need to roleplay a heavy tank and a medium tank? Have you ever had the need to bum rush and steamroll tier 5 players who can't load premium ammunition? Have you ever wanted to play a tank that is far superior to the other tank to get the same tank in the end? If all of your answers are yes, then this is the tank for you. I love this tank. It fits my playstyle perfectly, even though it's a bit of a shame it's going to be turned into a collector tank. I think I'm going to keep it, despite the fact that it could give me 500 extra gold. If I'm going to have enough gold, I'm going to put out a very spicy review sometime after November, hopefully, so be prepared for that. I'll compare this tank to some other totally similar tanks with full equipment and provisions such as the VK3001P, the Cromwell, the VK3002M and the M4A3E8 Sherman, which I'll just refer to as the M4E8, because American naming schemes are honestly the second worst thing right after the German ones. So, first off, the gun. Compared to the other tanks, both the M4E2 and the M4E8 have the worst penetration of around 128mm on the AP rounds. The best pen is on the VKM. They traded out for the second best DPM right after the Cromwell. The Cromwell has 2000 DPM, while both Shermans have 8 less. They also have the worst dispersion, 0.362. 0.36, so it's the accuracy. It's the worst when you start firing on the move. Wait, actually, let me check that. Scratch that. The dispersion factor on the move is the best, 0.1. The gun on the M4E2, or the E2 now, has 10 degrees of gun depression with the top turret. I'll get to why I use the top turret later. The Sherman E8 has 12. Everything else is worse, so yeah. Next up, the mobility. Not much to talk about here because the E2 gets blown out of the water by literally every single other medium. Probably even in the whole tier. 35 kilometers per hour speed limit, like 32 degrees of track traverse and so on. Nothing to talk about here, really. And finally, if the tank doesn't have a particularly good gun or mobility, it must have good armor, right? Sure does. Remember how I said in the beginning that this thing can roleplay as a heavy tank and a medium tank body? This is the tank, except no substitutes. Sure, 102mm of frontal armor may not seem like much, but if you consider the fact that it's relatively well angled and that the stock turret has 152mm of armor all around, you can use this as a down-tiered T29, which is exactly what I'm not doing. I run the top turret mainly because I like to shoot fast and not wait 6 seconds to fire off some measly 76mm shell. And most of the players in the lower tiers sadly lack the capability to fire into the lower classes, which, compared to the rest of the armor profile, is actually pretty weak. They tend to fire into the turret instead, where even the top one can bounce quite a bit given some slanting. That's why I run enhanced armor, and while it may not seem like much, it definitely saved my bacon a couple times. I also almost forgot to mention one thing about the gun. If you're running the E2 Sherman with the stock turret, you can expect that you're gonna have a very, very bad DPM of around 1500. Compared to the top turret, you lose about 3 shots. To finish the tank section up, I run the gun rammer, protected modules and optics. Next up I run the gun laying drive, enhanced armor as stated before, and the improved control. You don't need to use the engine accelerator, it won't go faster anyway. Then I also run the vertical stabilizer, toolbox and the consumable delivery system. I actually don't run the last part, but hey, every bit helps. Next up I'm gonna talk over some replays again and we'll see how I do. Noted that not a single one of these is an ace, but they're all pretty decent. Maybe I'll even throw in a tip. First up is Rockfield, with a grub on the enemy team, also known as King of Tomatoes on YouTube. Not sure if he's doing videos in English though. He's in his AC4 Sentinel, while his teammate is in his E2. Looks like quite a few more people know check here. By the way, don't mind the enemy 88 saying it's in R2K. That's one of the fake clans, and it's unfortunately the worst one. He doesn't do anything useful through the course of the battle. The enemy MT-25 makes a horrible mistake, but I'm there to finish the job. A wild T-3485 appears, and while he may seem a bit troublesome, he is no match for my freedom armor. Next up, the E2. This is where you'll probably die inside, mainly because 1, I'm bad at aiming, and 2, how long it takes to get rid of him. You can also notice how red the whole armor profile is, but it turns a nice shade of pale once you load promo. After the E2, all that's left to clean up is Tomato in the Sentinel. Don't ask why is the screen shaking so much. That was a pretty nice battle with a fair amount of damage dealt. The next one I'm going to show is going to be far worse. For the enemy team, that is. Next up is Winter Melanovka. Like I said, all of these ones aren't particularly great, but they're also quick, and I need to pad my video time somehow. There's also one other grub that I know on the enemy team called the Abab in his rust I mean Scavenger. His platoon mate isn't the M4A3E2 Sherman. Try and see my amazing game while I try and shoot the VK-28. Yeah, this is going to persist throughout the whole battle. Neat little shot on the VK there. Since there's no Seabuller resistance on the right side of my tank, I push forwards to clean house. I must say it goes quite well as the Abab runs the hobbits on the Scavenger. The Leopard falls easily enough, and the Abab's platoon mate takes a bit more time, as he's being careful about poking out. Doesn't help him much since I just go above the wreck to finish the job. Now all that's left is the enemy KV-2 and the book I mean SU-100Y. The KV can't even fire at me, and I somehow mess up a very easy shot on the 100Y, but well, what can you do? A very short battle with hardly noticeable damage, but I think it showed how to play the tank a bit better. Always angle the armor, try to hide it below the plate, and it's always best if you can go hold down. Next up, the finale of this review, Lost Temple. This one isn't that good either, but it shows just how much angling and slanting the tank means here. I load a bit late into the battle, but nothing serious happens. You can see the Irish Angry Connor pull itself into the battle by reversing. He's gonna need a lot of luck to survive that. The Kuromorimina is the most dangerous enemy here. He doesn't show his ult to me, his turret is rather difficult to penetrate, and he can totally penetrate me. Note that the enemy KV2 deals quite a bit of damage to me. If I ran the stock turret, I'd receive far less damage. This goes on for a while until one of the leopards decides to go to our flank and spice up the game a bit. I of course head on against the leopard, but in return I get hit in my juicy rear by the Kuromai, and probably something else as well. I then poke out and get sucker punched by the Death Toaster.
Another one like that should finish them.
I'll have to ask my accountant about that.
That was self-explanatory. At least I hope it was. After that epic fail to kill me, it's just a waiting game to kill the toaster. If I can see correctly, he's even using the wrong gun. Joke's on him, I guess. And the battle is over. Nothing impressive as always, but you should already be used to that here. Anyways, that is gonna be it for me. My name is App, and thanks for watching. If you somehow liked the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.